Hello, I'm here with David Adams, who's one of the developers on Chronos. Thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
So could you tell us a bit more about the game?
Sure. Chronos is an adventure RPG, VR, third person. It's kind of one of the central mechanics is your character ages as you play. So you start at 18, and depending on how good you are, you might end up at 60, 70, 80 years old. And you'll see your character gauge and progress as the game plays on.
That sounds really interesting. So it's based in a labyrinth, is that right?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, there's a thing called the labyrinth, but there's a lot of intricacies to the story, which is pretty interesting. Yes and no.
So if you're locked out of the labyrinth, are there other things that you can do within the game?
Well, we kind of short circuit that time period. So when you die, you age a year, and then you can go back in. So you don't actually have to play the time where you can't go back into the labyrinth. So we kind of cut that part out for you.
Okay, so some of the artwork obviously looks really intricate. Did you spend a lot of time working on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the big things for the game is we wanted it to kind of feel like a fairy tale. So as we were designing the different areas in the game, we wanted it to have that sort of, I don't know, there's a certain quality to a fairy tale and we wanted to make sure that every area captured that.
I think it definitely has from looking at the demos. So how is the story actually delivered? Is that through cutaways?
There's a few cutscenes in the game, but for the most part, the story is discovered by the player. So you'll find books or, there's a few NPCs you'll interact with, and you kind of have to piece it together yourself. We didn't want to force feed it through the player. That works in some games, but this game's really a lot about atmosphere and immersion, and so we didn't want to push you into situations where you're forced to watch certain sequences. So you just kind of pick the story up as you're playing along by observing the environment and looking at things.
And do you have a launch date in mind for this?
Yep, it'll be available the first day people get Rift headsets, so March 28th, I guess, was the date.
Excellent.
It's basically done now, so.
Not long to wait then.
No.
And do you have any more VR plans in the pipeline for 2016?
Yeah, we do. We're working on another game that we're not talking about yet, but yeah, absolutely.
That's fine. We'll catch up with you another time and hopefully talk about that.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Yeah, thank you.
And you can stay up to date with everything to do with Chronos and more on VRFocus.com.